Spain, the Kingdom of España, on his amazing vacation, well-deserved vacation, by the way. You're working hard on the app, which, hey,
Yeah.
can't knock it. But you told me something that was very interesting. I think was on Twitter. I was like, so we're all gonna get rich. You told me the first time you were like, not everybody, the people in the right coins, and then a few days ago you said something similar along those lines. Can you explain what you were saying when you said it's different than before? It's not like all coins are gonna go up 1,000%. What does that mean? It's
The,
different than before, and why?
the every after every cycle, and what's up, everybody? After every cycle, so like when Bitcoin first started, and then you had ETH, and then all the altcoins, and then that starts like the bull cycle. The process to get rich becomes harder because people know what happened last cycle, and those maybe mistakes or exploits or arbitrages aren't necessarily there the next time. If you notice now, nobody's talking about NFTs, right? Everybody's talking about meme coins, but during the last cycle, NFTs, CryptoPunks, Pudgy Penguin, whatever it was, that was the get rich quick type of asset to be in. That is no longer the case. So markets become a little bit more efficient through time, and people build stuff on top of the current infrastructure to be more efficient. So that's why it's going to be a lot harder for people to do that 10,000x now. I mean, it's a struggle right now, especially with these choppy markets. But going forward, I don't foresee people just launching into I don't know, even like an old coin, like so it's people today really shilling Cardano.
Okay, that's a different story. But what I was thinking more like, people that sheep, right? People went into like sheep $100, and somebody made
All right.
100 million. Somebody made sheep Toshi, whatever his name is, made off of $8,000 investment, made like 5 billion. But even like more conservative stuff, you just okay. Let's not talk about Cardano and other projects. Do
I
you
don't
agree with
want to talk
it?
about Cardano though. You
Okay,
just
you can talk about Cardano, but first I want to say, so 80/20 rule, right? Do you believe that right now? Because there's millions of tokens, so you can't just throw money into any random project. Like, I don't know, Mike and Fernando want YouTube Live token and make millions of dollars. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, it's they're like all the old stuff is what I'm saying. So ADA and like let's put like a Litecoin, and these were like 2000 like
17,
17
17. That's
cycle,
when you made
right?
money, by the way. My brother made money on Cardano in
Yeah,
2017.
no, and I made a ton off Link back when, and I think Link there's still value there because they've proven themselves. But like if you're holding onto a bag from last cycle, expecting it to go up this cycle and like surpass it, you're wasting time, and it's like the law of like diminishing returns as well, because all right, there's like another name for it where you're invested in one asset, but because you're invested in that asset, you're missing out all this stuff that could make you probably more.
It's called marrying your bag. When people
Well,
they
yeah.
they love that token and they won't let it go. And the like Charles from Cardano, I'll keep saying it's gonna be the best thing ever in 10 years. He was saying that 10 years ago. It's gonna overtake Bitcoin, and they just keep saying he just keeps. This morning he just posted. Charles said that Cardano will break the internet. Did you see that
I
post?
saw that, and it's like, dude, like, why? Like, nobody's developing on it. Do you understand that? Like, everybody has a developer now with all this AI and ChatGPT and Claude and all that. Nobody's even leveraging those networks to build anything on top of it. Because you would think like development has gone up now because anybody who has an idea could just, you know, type it in. But that's not
Well,
it.
you
Nobody's
can, but not on
developing.
Cardano.
Yeah, nobody's doing it on Cardano, and like nobody's doing it on XRP. But I don't want to get into that one. But
They are doing it on Solana though, and Sui to a
yeah,
certain extent if you understand the move language.
and there's a lot of like other languages that are popping up, and a lot of different infrastructures, and like this is the time where everybody's like, oh, mine's gonna break the internet. No, mine, like it's retardation at the end of the day. I think the most prudent thing to do is look at screeners, look what's up, look what's been performing for like the past 3 4 months, even like 6 months, that when the market has been choppy, like the perfect example, and again, this is not financial advice. You take a look at like a hype. You know, what is hype? What is decentralized exchange? What is all this? Fine, you can question it. Their docs are out there. Audit them. But PayPal is introducing them into their infrastructure. That was released this week, and MetaMask. Everybody's used MetaMask to trade NFTs and all that bullshit, they're going to introduce perps through hype. So you start seeing what tokens are the ones that are actually making like those rails between the TradFi world and the crypto world a
Like I
little
say,
bit more
marketing and
accessible.
partnerships. Not to cut you off, but I
Right.
was just walking through. Have you walked through Times Square? I just walked through Times Square. I like to see what marketing's
Been
there,
in
bro.
over a
The
year.
amount of crazy shit. I made a video on Rumble, by the way, with a little toy robot that I was playing with. But you
Did
can.
you
That's
did you
it
take
was
a
really
picture of
weird.
Mickey Mouse and Elmo?
Yeah, but dude, freaking
Support
the,
them.
the amount of shit that like cryptocurrency marketing and Times Square right now is insane. Even
Yeah.
USDC is all over fucking Times Square.
So like, there's a funny one that I had a couple buddies show me back when VeChain, and this was like an older one, like not even that old, but kind of like last cycle. I put in the like Cardano. Everybody was either in Cardano, like all the I don't want to say low IQ. I don't want to say retards. I don't, I'm trying to figure out words. But
I
the
want to make it easier for you. This is how I look at it. When I got into crypto in 2019, and I went to Gemini, there were five tokens, five: Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, Litecoin, and Dogecoin. That was it. There was no Cardano, there was no VeChain, there was nothing else in
right.
2019. But go ahead.
Just yeah, but getting back to that subject of like all the marketing, because it's along the point. VeChain is still has a huge partnership deal with UFC. They signed so all the fights you see, VeChain. Nobody knows what the fuck it does, but you see the advertising for it. So now, and I don't know if you follow all this stuff with like ESPN by or having
For the most part.
WWE, which is part of it's publicly traded companies like
And WWE
UFC.
is partnership with was doing partnership with NFL too. So yeah, of course, it's getting bigger. I
But
watch a
but
lot
all
of
that
NFL.
all that marketing that the UFC had with Vicha, because they were paying out, and I guess they still are, now goes into the WWE programming. So the eyeballs just get in this stuff, and you look at it because there's no call to action. You're seeing the logos and shit. There's no real call to action, really. Like, what do these platforms actually do? Can I trade? Can I stake? Can I get some yield? How does this make my life easier? With all the mush out there, and when you filter it down, there's like less than like 5 points that are actually valuable.
Listen, I agree with you 100%. But so the point with Cardano, right? People market Cardano, but they don't know what it actually does. I agree with you. If you're just like Dogecoin, we're like, listen, we are on the stock market now through the ETFs. People like Donald Trump Jr.'s company in the stock market, one of the companies he owns a lot of shares in, is buying it, holding it for the treasury, but they're owning it. They're like, listen, we're a token with a dog on it. Like that's it.
Well,
Unlike Cardano and VeChain, we're
yeah,
like, yeah, and in my opinion, unlike these Cardano and VeChain, oh, we're gonna revolutionize the world. Like you said, nobody knows what the fuck they were doing. If they just owned it and put like a little puppy on that motherfucker, it would actually do better, in my opinion.
for sure. And like you think about like to this point, because I like this through line, because this is where a lot of people are. Maybe we can like red pill them into like not investing in anything that I invest in. That's why Virtuoso, the platform that I have, is agnostic to any particular coin. I don't care. You see the signals. It's not things that I technically believe in. It's what makes fundamental sense at the time and technical sense. But if you filter it, right, just not you're gonna get like screwed up with a couple of tokens because you thought and like there's
Yeah.
always an ideal and then it comes to reality.
And by the way, I just want to say, and financial advice, do your own research, of course. I love the background, but like I said,
Yeah,
the background.
do your own
Like,
research, not financial advice.
but I did make money using your indicator. I paid my rent for a few months using indicator. Just FYI. Some people are gonna people are gonna see this later and be
It's the
like,
greatest
yeah,
marketing ever because if you know what you're doing, you don't have to stare at a chart all day. You get an
which I
alert when
can't do.
things actually matter.
I can't look at numbers. They don't make sense to me. But I look at your indicator and it gives me a detailed analysis. You know the page why the reasoning is, and you already explained to me that it's order flow, which obviously is common sense. I think, if, in my
Uh,
brain.
It's not
So
order flow is not, but you don't have to understand it too much. I mean,
as long
there's
as it works,
education. Mhm.
as long as it
The
works.
the reason again that it works is because it's agnostic, right? It's not heavily weighing anything. Like back, I think 3 months ago, I was getting Bitcoin alerts a lot, and that should have been the indicator for me. Like, all right, alt season is starting because once you start getting alerts for times to buy Bitcoin, and that comes to fruition, and this is what I'm pushing with the platform to also say the beta, like what else is going to rise with it or has been outperforming it. And that is such a valuable thing, especially for the retail investor, because you don't have to get burned by holding bags. You can make money by trading and not necessarily get greedy. Because I mean, we're all going to get greedy. See the money, it's you see the USDC, but then you got to do something with it. And that's why the signals also provide exits. Like here's the entrance, here's the exit, here's where you take profit, and then you bounce. And it doesn't have to become this lingering thing where you take the psychology out of that trading. And for noobs, and I was one, and you're one, and we all are noobs at one point.
And listen, well, let's be honest. Like some guy, a hedge fund guy, I went to an interview, but way before I met you years ago. I did an interview at a private equity firm, and I almost got hired. It was kind of crazy because they were like, "Oh, you speak different languages, you can talk to different clients." And he's like 52 years old. I think he's a billionaire by now. And he's like, "Mike, I'm still learning. We're all still learning."
That's the best mind. So we're all retarded, and if you put it like that, the ego doesn't become what drives your investment and financial decisions because you cannot be wrong. People that hold their bags are because they won't be wrong. They're gonna ride this out until fruition and tell everybody. We all did it, right? But
That's true. I'm just saying, but I don't like this. But bro. I have friends that have like the life savings in Charles bullshit. That's why every time
oh,
you say that, like it pisses me off.
it's because nobody taught us how to do this, right? There's no. Let me backtrack. There's actually a shit ton of information out there. I was just saying that there's no information.
There's
There is a
nobody
lot.
holding our hands. It's not like we can go to college and pay for a degree and take tests.
Right. But then the holding hands part is the trust. And I think that becomes, how do I say this, a little bit of a tumultuous relationship because the trust has to be like, yo, dude, get out of this. Nah, 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 I'm going to ride this out. And then if you didn't trust my opinion, right, that I knew supposedly more than you, and it came to fruition, and you got burned by it because you held the bag to zero, do you trust me or you just don't trust this whole thing now? But
That's
if
why
you
I
would have
tell people,
listened,
you and I both learned from experience. I always tell people this: listen, if you put $1,000 into a coin, or maybe let me be more realistic. Most people are not going to like put $1,000 into a coin. Okay, if you put $10 into a coin, for example, and it goes to $20, take the $10 out and ride the rest of it out. If it goes to zero, fuck it. If in 10 years it goes to fucking $1 million, great. But you're in the green. That's how I look at it. Or you broke even, right?
well, that's the whole point is to make money, right? Like we're not here to lose money. We're not here to um, gamble. And that's the other part about this. It's gambling. At the end of the day, like the psychology behind it. I know that going back to the Pareto principle, right? I want to really go with this through line, the 80-20 principle. So 20% of what you do is going to be worth 80% of that effort, right? What is that 20%? What is the 20% in the marketplace right now? Right? 20%, take 20% of 20% now. You could break this down to really get something to focus on and then, master it. I mastered being able to trade Bitcoin. I'm not an expert trader, right? I'm not, again, I have a very modest life. I shouldn't even be doing this right now because part of me is, no, I feel like I still have a lot to learn and giving me information is like, I'm still learning it. But at the
But
same time,
but
yeah.
I like what you're saying though, with regards to like learning a little bit, because a lot of YouTubers, right, and a lot of experts, they say that they started with like 100 tokens and they were like, "Fuck this, 20," and then like like the top people, they like have like 10 to 15 max, and they're like, as I can't learn about like and be on top of 100 tokens, but like with 10 to 15, that's a good starting point, right? Out of like
I think
millions of
it's too
tokens that created.
yeah, I even think it's too much because if you look at and this is where I go back to that tradition because this is where crypto still hasn't and probably won't ever surpass is traditional investment like wealth risk management like principles, right?
That's why
That
the
is
ETFs
yeah.
are so interesting to me.
Well, the ETFs are interesting more than anything because they take the security part out of this equation. But more than anything, it's learning to not be a greedy asshole. Like you said before, get the money that you invested initially out, play with the rest, learn from that, because then it doesn't have to become a losing proposition. I am wrong. My system is not going to give 100% signals all the time. That has to be said in the onset because if not, I'm not a guru, and I'm not trying to be either. And I know a lot of people who we follow online, who you see on YouTube and all the streaming platforms, top trader this, alpha trader that. I think it's all bullshit and a meme. I don't think that everybody has all the answers because it's constantly evolving. The things that I'm
Definitely.
work the things that I'm working on right now won't work in maybe 5 years. That edge is going to be gone. I have to adapt.
All we need is
So
5 years, man. In 5 years, AI will have all the jobs, and you and I will be on the beach in Dominican Republic. I'm not gonna put you in the spot like that, but you can come to my crib in Dominican Republic. I'm not
Puerto
talking about what
Plata,
country you want to go
que lo
to.
que, tigre. But
But
just
I,
getting
but
back to like the psychology, just the last thing I want to say is really that like master yourself is the biggest thing. And this is something that I struggle too. And I would love to talk to more people about this because it's a common issue. Like your impulsiveness, your everybody has it, right? People control it better. It's called discipline, right? The discipline that you have for the little things that you do, the 20% of the things that you do affect those 80. The good habits that you have, the even the technical good habits, securing your keys, being safe, doing your own research, don't trust in verifying, those are going to pay out that 80. And I think it's a brilliant theme because those psychological things to get noticed, and there has to be like heuristics developed for then to actually make fucking money and not have to worry anymore because you have a good system, you have a good idea, and you're using the
and
right
you're
tools
consistent. You're consistent. You
and
never let
consistent.
yourself slip. But I want to get through to like the well. By the way, I used to think 80-20 rule. I used to think it was 80% hard work and 20% luck. The more and older I get, the more I realize it's more like 90% luck and 10% hard work. You can
It's
work all your ass off, but
yeah,
at the end of the day, you need that fucking luck and that
it's definitely
timing.
20. To me, it's 20%. Like you got to grind.
Yep.
Like
Exactly. We control what you can. But I want to talk about interest rates, right? Because I'm about like Pareto principle
oof.
and everything. And this is ETF cycles and all that stuff. Do you think that interest rates don't fucking matter anymore? Because in 2017, the first half was kind of dead for crypto because I think they hiked interest rates, right? The Federal Reserve. And then in
Uh,
2017, because this is more like 2017 cycle, the second half they didn't do anything, and that's when crypto went up. Do you think that because this first half of the year we had that stall, but now we're starting to get these interest rate cuts, and according to Polymarket, we're gonna have this one in October, then December. November has no meeting. Do you think that we're gonna see that boom? Do you think that we're gonna see Bitcoin to 150K by January 1st, 2026? Do you buy into that? Like Charles is saying and everybody else is saying. Hi,
um,
everyone.
I don't know, dude. Here's what I will say about interest rates. The first thing is that I think the signals that they're gonna start the cutting cycle. And what that does, plain English, it makes money cheaper. And then plain English on that is, well, what does that mean? Makes money cheaper. If people can get money, right, to buy a house, to buy a car, to invest in a business at a cheaper interest rate, more people are going to do it. Now, what is done with that money, right? Again, buy a house, buy a car, good for the economy.
Private
But
equity
people,
investment for investment houses, they buy more money to invest more too.
yeah, and they get really good rates already, but they could get even better rates and make riskier decisions, right? That's how it works. The risk is on when the rate cycle starts cutting because the Fed is signaling, in theory, that the economy is stable. Raising interest rates is terrible, right? That means the yields are off, and the long term, or I'm sorry, the short term potential is very um, transient, right? And that's why you see bonds go up and everything. I may be wrong about that, but correct me if I am. But in terms of like what this means for like the private equity that you talked about, or even just retail investors, like if there's more money in your pocket that is cheaper to use, then you're going to make riskier decisions. Investing is risky inherently in anything, in Nvidia, in Apple, in shit, but fuck coin.
I'm just saying, man. Tesla, like obviously we're gonna get into proxies in the future. For now, it's just crypto, but we're gonna get into proxies, man. But robotics, AI, and like just Bitcoin Treasury, Tesla has it all. I just want to throw that out there. But besides that,
Yeah.
what is the so do you think that like okay? So generally speaking, you always like to say the phases, right? The cycle. First is Bitcoin. This will be the last section because I have to go in like 5 minutes, and you have to go too. So the first part of the cycle is Bitcoin, right? And then you go to Ethereum, phase two. Phase three, you go from Ethereum to large caps like Solana, XRP, etc. Phase four, everything goes vertical, right? And everything loses its mind. I got that from stuff that you sent me. So we had Bitcoin ETFs. Then we had Ethereum ETFs. Took a year. It is what it is. Now we have the Solana XRP ETFs coming out. And as they're coming out, we're starting to see, right, the money flowing to Solana XRP, the large caps. Is next going to be the smaller caps, medium caps? Do you see that happening? Or is it going to be a small for certain projects that have ETFs that have institutional interest? alt season just for those, or do you think the whole market's gonna go crazy for anything that's good in the top 100?
I mean, dude, who fucking knows? But what I will say is this, because it's a
That's
good
funny.
like yeah, it's a good analysis of what's going to happen. So if you look at like that phase thing, and if you want to put a link to it or whatever, but what that means is the money people made money on Bitcoin. What do I do with the money? Oh, Ethereum, Solana, XRP. Um, that's the same thing that's
And some will go to
happening.
Cardano, sadly, and they'll lose money
Yeah,
in Cardano, but
well,
hopefully they make it back in Solana or something.
I want them to succeed, bro. I don't want anybody to fail. I don't want anybody to lose money, but ultimately, like, you know, they're shit, right? And I think these new ETFs are shit as well. These are shit ETFs.
Of
So you have
course,
to
they're
call it
shit.
for what it is,
But the thing
and
is
then
that, like, why buy? Like,
Mm.
you and I think the same way. Why buy the fucking ETF, which you don't even fucking own, if you can just buy the actual project and put it in your cold storage? But unfortunately, old rich white people don't like to buy. They like to buy ETFs.
Racist.
Hey,
Uh,
man, I say how it is.
nah, I'm messing with you. Oh, good look at. I don't know, dude. I just feel like I don't want to shit on anything, but shit is shit, and you have to call it out like penny stocks. You talk, and this is like in the traditional market. There's parallels, and then things are rhyming. You look at an investment firm. You have friends, right? That their parents own them.
Hey,
Um,
hey, man, it is what it is. You got to play the. We got to work for it, but some people just got it from birth.
well, some people are born on third base. Some people are born in the gutter in the parking lot.
We're catching up, though. Let's be honest. We're catching up really fast.
Well, time is spinning faster, right? And like things are getting out there. But in terms of like what's happening is these ETFs that are coming out, they provide no value. They're not, I mean, the only thing that matters, honestly, is the Bitcoin treasuries. Because as long as that, which everybody and every financial person has to admit that it is probably Eric Trump said it, which he's not an investment guy, but he is now the best asset on
Also,
the
you're
planet.
not buying the Dogecoin treasury company. What's it called again? Thumb up or something like that.
Thumb up your
Again,
ass. Yeah.
thumb. Yeah, that one. That shit is hilarious. Because Dogecoin. Let's be honest. Dogecoin is inflationary, so that makes no sense to me. But
Well,
hey, if it makes money, it makes money.
they with all the stable coin stuff, because everybody's like, oh well, if Bitcoin, nobody really could transact with them, maybe they'll use Doge. And like, again, these are memes. These things we've all learned that they provide no inherent value. I look at the chart, I see how it's performing the price action, I see the order books, I see the flow, and to me, that's exactly what I algorithmically put out with Virtuoso. So I don't need who spend time on forums going through the shit when and anybody could really do this. Like if you have TradingView just launched a new screener. Like, dude, go on YouTube for 5 minutes, find a fucking video that shows you how to do it, or some like FAQs about it, and then you start practicing on your own. Like we talked about before, $100, dude. You got $100 to gamble. You're gonna buy a lottery ticket. Well, why don't you buy something that you actually did the work and effort, and based on your knowledge, on your gut.
You know what it is? It's a patience aspect, right? Because of lottery, in theory, you could win that night, right, or that week. But
Nobody
a hundred
wants to
turn,
put in the work.
yeah, flipping $100 to Xing it on any crypto is doable. But generally speaking, unless you get fucking lucky, it's gonna take you a few months at least.
The problem is that you got to have patience, right, for this stuff to actually plan out. Like 10 years ago, you told anybody that was investing in Bitcoin, hey, you laughed you out of the fucking room. That you were just like, all
Dude,
right,
a
kid,
hundred
like,
dollars in Bitcoin 10 years in 2015, right?
yeah,
That would have been like what, like a good 3-4 million now.
something like that, 300,000, something like that. Maybe my decimal's off, but definitely six
I think it's like a
figures.
few million. I think it would have been.
And but you had to hold it, right? You had to hodl. You had to put it in cold storage. You had to go through cycles. You had to have conviction. That's what you mentioned before. Tesla, right? Everybody for their quarterly earnings, they always look, oh, what did they do with Bitcoin? Did they sell? They never sold. They probably never will. Will they buy more? Probably not even.
But honestly,
You,
man, I'm in that camp. Like, I got to want to get to a point. This is not the. We're not talking about this right now, but I want to get to a point where I never have to sell any crypto. Where basically I can just live off of loans. That's actually my goal. And I can use the
well,
loans to not just live off of, but also to buy more stuff, Bitcoin, more crypto. But wait, we
right?
have like a few more
And
minutes. I
tax
have to go in
free.
4 minutes, by the way. So just I'll
Yeah,
let
no,
you
no
get to the
doubt.
last 4 minutes.
Feel free to throw something else my way. Let's take something apart.
No, I have to go. I have to go because I'll give you 3 to 4 minutes, but I have to go because I have to start getting ready for this wedding, and you got family stuff, and it's Friday. It's the last weekend of summer. Let's enjoy it.
I'm actually gonna go to the range.
All right,
Um,
then make it fast then.
nah, I mean, I don't have anything else. Virtuoso still popping off. We're still developing it. We're in a further of the beta phase. We're testing it. We have a very small Discord test group, testing out the signals. I'm getting feedback to see what people need. What can I make sense of? I'm launching more education to show people how this works. It's a very esoteric concept, but if you have time and you want to make money, virtuosocrypto.com, sign up. We will be relaunching the site very soon, and yeah, man, stay sharp, stay hungry, keep grinding, do your own research, not financial advice.
Well, I'm gonna let you go, and just for people that will watch the end bonus material, we're gonna have a launch event for Virtuoso on October 23rd in person, but we're also gonna be streaming live. So the next time him and I talk, it'll be right before October 23rd when he's already have the product fully released, and we're talking about the event and how the event's gonna work out. That being said, upwards and onwards. Enjoy the range.
Awesome,
Ciao.
man. Enjoy the wedding.
I
Bye,
will.
love.